Hi, welcome everyone to today's opening plenary. My name is Abdullah Yunus. I am a current member of the National Political Committee of DSA, and I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. Thank you for being here and listening to the reports coming out of our national priorities committees. Today's plenary will feature India Walton of Buffalo, New York. India won her Democratic primary for mayor in June of this year against a longtime establishment Democratic mayor named Byron Brown. Her victory over Mayor Brown and the Buffalo Democratic machine heralds a socialist future that is within our reach. And the subsequent reaction of the Democratic establishment signals just how afraid both parties of capital are of that very same reach. Mayor Brown has now chosen to continue to challenge India in the general election via a write-in campaign. There is, of course, now a collective endeavor underway to defend this victory from these elites who cannot stand to see an unapologetic democratic socialist, a coalition builder, and a working class champion in office. That fundamentally goes against their agenda. I first had the pleasure of meeting India a few years ago in Albany, New York, which is the state capital of New York, where I was up there fighting for driver's licenses for undocumented people in New York. And India was there as well, no doubt, community organizing and fighting against those same interests. India embodies the essence of what we want in the candidates that we as a movement put our often too limited resources behind. She is, a working class woman of color, a mother, a community organizer, and a union nurse. She's strident in her principles and has been able to bring a broad coalition of organizations, bases, and working class communities together to the ballot box in order to fight for a government that is not just for the billionaires, but for the people. It is with great honor that I introduce to you India Walton. Thank you for being with us today. It's very good to see you again.
Greetings from the Queen City, Buffalo, New York. For those of you who've never been here to Buffalo, we are the second largest city in New York State. We have the third highest poverty rate of any American city of our size, and we are the home of the Buffalo Bills, the greatest sports franchise in the history of athletics. It's also the site of a number of historic labor strikes. I personally love and cherish our tradition of working class power, and I'm enormously proud to be reviving that tradition right now. As you may have heard, I, quote unquote, came out of nowhere to beat a 16-year incumbent mayor this past June in our Democratic primary. But let me be clear, I didn't come out of nowhere. I came out of Buffalo. I come out of a historic Black community. I come out of all sorts of circumstances that most American politicians have never known. I gave birth to my first child when I was 14. I dropped out of high school. I lived in a group home. I earned my GED while I was pregnant with twins. My twins were born at 24 weeks under atrocious circumstances that are all too often inflicted on Black mothers by a racist, sexist, for-profit healthcare system. Because of that traumatic experience, I decided to become a registered nurse. I treated critical care patients in that same hospital and students in our public schools. In that context, I could see that people were suffering from much more than simple medical conditions. They were suffering from poverty. They were suffering from racism. They were suffering from pervasive violence in their neighborhoods. They were suffering from a society that chews up working class people and spits us out in order to furnish the already rich with even more obscene levels of wealth. I became a union organizer. I fought for dignity and respect for my fellow nurses and community members. After that, I became the founding executive director of Buffalo's premier community land trust. So when they say I came out of nowhere, what they really mean is that people like me aren't supposed to become the Democratic nominee and presumptive mayor-elect of a major American city. The forces of entrenched power still don't want to acknowledge our campaign's accomplishments. The disgraced mayor, denied a ballot line by the voters, by the people of Buffalo, has decided to launch a write-in campaign to try and keep his control of the city. It's being powered by the GOP, the far right, and known white supremacists. But if you don't know Buffalonians, let me tell you what we're not going to do. We are not going to write in the name of a corrupt, out-of-touch mayor with Republican dollars in his pockets and Republican talking points on his lips. We know that it's time for a change. Like many other cities, Buffalo has been run by big-time real estate interests for too long. All over the country, real estate corporations suck up billions of dollars in public subsidies, extract windfall profits on land speculation, and then turn around and spend millions of dollars on right-wing political outreach to make us seem dangerous and scary. But what we're showing in Buffalo is that people won't be fooled anymore. We know what's actually scary. The threat of eviction and homelessness is scary. Living without health insurance is scary. Being at the mercy of a boss who can fire you at any time for any reason is scary. Facing poverty with no public safety net is scary. Wildfires, floods, and other climate catastrophes are scary. Facing a global pandemic without a comprehensive public health strategy is scary. The threat of racist violence, police brutality, and mass incarceration is scary. In other words, what's scary is that the status quo that benefits the ruling class. For the vast majority of people, our vision is the opposite of dangerous and scary. Our vision is the key to safe and healthy families and communities. True safety means guaranteed universal health care. True safety means guaranteed universal child care. True safety means a home's guarantee backed up by social housing and community land trusts. True safety means creating millions of green jobs with good pay and union protection. True safety means strong communities with all the resources we need to thrive. True safety means a justice system that centers survivors and provides pathways to accountability, healing, and growth. These ideas are only scary to the billionaire class, who are terrified of losing power and control of all our lives. But we are sick of being ruled. We are tired of hierarchy, and we are ready to get free from the domination of a wealthy few. It won't be easy. It'll take all of us being courageous and taking action, bringing millions of everyday people into our movement. It will take labor strikes, tenant unions, mass demonstrations, and of course, grassroots political campaigns like the one that we're running right here in Buffalo. But I believe today, more than ever, that we're ready to get to work. I believe that we're ready to talk to strangers, to reach out across differences, to build working class power all over Buffalo and all over the United States of America and all over the world. I believe that that day is coming because when we organize, we win. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing those words with us, India. I think that the feat that has been accomplished here and the way in which the response has come in is something that has not so much surprised people, but been a very, very important material lesson for us to see what is going to happen as we continue to be more and more successful. So I have a question for you as I'm not even going to say presumptive mayor-elect, my mayor-elect, India Walton of Buffalo, New York. While other folks should definitely think about questions that they have for India as well and put them in the chat in the Zoom as well, so we can start fielding those here. Come November, once it's all official, you're inaugurated in January, I suppose. What is your first order of business going to be? What are you really looking forward to taking care of as soon as you're in there?
My first order of business is going to be to fire Officer Richard High. Officer Richard High is a current Buffalo police officer with a long history of misconduct, brutality, and violence, who's currently targeting me on his social media. And I think that we've had such a legacy of unaccountability in the city of Buffalo. I'm excited to have my first action be to take a bold stance against police brutality. Secondly, I'm going to just get out and engage my community, go neighborhood by neighborhood, and allow the people to help continue to flesh out our platform so that we can make sure resources get to where they have long been disinvested from and where they belong. And that is to neighborhoods, individuals, families, and working class folks.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I particularly, I know a lot of us, were very excited about the way in which you communicated on the questions of defunding the police and, what it really meant for us to as socialists, to be trying to fight for those things that are very important and dear to us, all over the country. We have a question in the chat now. Will you prioritize expanding rent stabilization to Buffalo? What would the organizing plan to win be? And I see you smiling, so go ahead.
I love questions like this because I think what's so exciting about the campaign that we're running is not only that we are electing a progressive mayor in Buffalo, but that there is a person that's going to be in office now that is interested in building coalition all up and down the 90. We New Yorkers pass progressive legislation that folks in cities like Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse are often left out of, like strong tenant protection. So I'm excited to be able to do a comprehensive review of how we view our rates of vacancies in Western New York and upstate cities so that we can opt in to tenant protections and rent control. I am excited to rein in the 485A tax exemption and make big developers pay their fair share of taxes. I am excited about pursuing inclusionary zoning and making sure that the amount of dwelling units we create is proportionate to the rate of poverty so that folks are not spending more than 30% of their household income on housing. So I am just excited to expand our organizing efforts from Buffalo up and down the 90 and all across New York State.
So we have a couple of questions in here now about what it means to be running for office, especially as a working class candidate, as you said, a person that's actually of the people. So one in here is, can you speak to the challenges of running while being a parent and how you overcame them?
I have not overcome the challenges of running while being a parent. I won't make it fantastical. It is hard work. I have 4 sons. They are 24, 19, 19. Remember, I have those twins, and 11. We have lots of conversations about appropriate behavior, knowing that our family is now under a microscope. But what I will say is that having a family, a movement family around me that makes sure that my son gets back and forth to baseball practice and, our laundry gets done and, meals are being prepared has been critical in helping me be able to focus on being the candidate and doing the work that is necessary to be in front of voters and just be prepared to run and win. So I would encourage folks that even if you don't want to run yourself, just know that there is a role for everyone in political campaigns and in trying to reclaim the power that we want for the working class. And that means that it's okay to chip in and make a tuna casserole or, lend a helping hand and do a load of laundry or wash a sink full of dishes for your candidate. And all of that capacity is needed when you're a working class parent in this game.
It's true. So a question in here from a fellow registered nurse. I'm a registered nurse and am glad to see others with that background run and win political office. Do you think there's a trend of nurses seeking political office, and why do you think that might be happening?
I love the fact that there are nurses running for office. In fact, I was inspired by Cori Bush to go ahead and take the plunge. Also, Farrah Forrest, who is from a legislator from downstate. I will say that the culture of nursing is very unique in that it is one of caring, but it is also one that makes us unbiased when it comes to caring for people, and that we care for all, right? As nurses, we are taught that no matter what a person believes or what their values are, that our responsibility is to care for them as best as we can. So I think that there is definitely a place for nurses in politics and in leadership overall. We are natural advocates and we understand people. We have a natural inquisitive nature and curiosity about people and want to know about them and want to help. So I would encourage anyone with a nursing background, a healthcare background as a worker, background as a poor person. We are the most equipped to lead ourselves into the future and have a just recovery from the pandemic that we've all struggled with.
Thank you. We're about to get really juicy, so this is going to be fun. With the shenanigans that you've faced from the incumbent mayor, what has been your relationship with the Buffalo Democratic Party? How hostile have they been to you, or have they just been in general? Name names.
You know, the interesting thing is that the Democratic Party has not been hostile. I think they ignored and underestimated me long enough for us to pull off this win, did us a huge favor. And now that this write-in campaign is happening, the Democratic Party is being loyal to their mission, and that is to support the Democratic nominee. I am the Democratic nominee. I actually had a very productive meeting with our county chair, Jeremy Zellner, today. We're actually co-sponsoring our local Democratic Party picnic next week. We are creating a Big Tent. Like I said, the work that we want to do is going to require all of us. We are not going to waver on our values, but we are going to build coalition and build bridges and work with all of those that we need to work with in order to make change for our community.
And our next question is going to be the last one, unfortunately. How are you planning on working towards ecological sustainability in Buffalo?
I am, because I have been a member of our activist and nonprofit community for so long, I know the people who are the experts. I am not the expert. We are going to create an office of sustainability so that we make sure that we are not only reducing our carbon footprint, but also making sure that we make the best use of the Climate Protection and Community Leadership Act, or whatever the governor has renamed it now, and the investments that are coming to make sure that we are creating green jobs and really actively working toward getting us away from the tipping point, which we're dangerously close to. And also taking into account that Buffalo sits on one of the largest bodies of fresh water, and that we are a climate refuge city. So we need to be prepared for the influx of new Buffalonians that are going to have to be coming, due to natural disasters in other areas of the world that are going to be made non-inhabitable because of the terrible job that we've been doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's the stuff of nightmares. So this is all the time we have. Thank you so much for being with us in this short time. And to everybody that's been watching, listening, thank you for being with us. We'll see you soon in the next debate block, which starts in about 9 minutes, and the link will be in Cadence. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.